Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, on this fourth day of November 2025 in San Diego, reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 12, Devotional Service, text number 6 and 7 at the top of page 515. So we'll just chant number 6. Yea. Tu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matpadaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matpadaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matpadaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matpadaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matpadaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Oh, go ahead, Louis. Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matpadaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matpadaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matpadaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Ladies. Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matpadaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matpadaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matpadaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Okay, I'll just do the second verse and read the synonyms. Tesham aham samudharta mittu sangsara sagarat bhavaminasharat parta maya veshata chetasam. Okay. Yea, those who to but sarvani, all karmani, activities, mai, unto me, sanyasya, giving up, matparaha, being attached to me, ananyena, without divisions, eva, certainly, yogena, by practice of such bhakti yoga, mam, upon me, dhyayanta, meditating, upasate, worship. Okay, translation of 6 and 7. But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pritha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Purport. It is explicitly stated here that the devotees are very fortunate to be delivered very soon from material existence by the Lord. In pure devotional service, one comes to the realization that God is great and that the individual soul is subordinate to him. His duty is to render service to the Lord, and if he does not, then he will render service to Maya. As stated before, the Supreme Lord can be appreciated only by devotional service. Therefore, one should be fully devoted. One should fix his mind fully on Krishna in order to achieve him. One should work only for Krishna. It does not matter in what kind of work one engages, but that work should be done only for Krishna. That is the standard of devotional service. The devotee does not desire any achievement other than pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His life's mission is to please Krishna, and he can sacrifice everything for Krishna's satisfaction, just as Arjuna did in the Battle of Kurukshetra. The process is very simple. One can devote himself in his occupation and engage at the same time in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Such transcendental chanting attracts the devotee to the personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord herein promises that without delay, he will deliver a pure devotee thus engaged from the ocean of material existence. Those who are advanced in yoga practice can willfully transfer the soul to whatever planet they like by the yoga process, and others take the opportunity in various ways. But as far as the devotee is concerned, it is clearly stated here that the Lord himself takes him. The devotee does not need to wait to become very experienced in order to transfer himself to the spiritual sky. In the Varaha Purana, this verse appears. Niyami padamam sthanam archeradi gatim vina garudas gandam aropya yatecham anivaritaha. The purport of this verse is that a devotee does not need to practice Ashtanga Yoga in order to transfer his soul to the spiritual planets. The responsibility is taken by the Supreme Lord himself. He clearly states here that he himself becomes the deliverer. A child is completely cared for by his parents, and thus his position is secure. Similarly, a devotee does not need to endeavor to transfer himself by yoga practice to other planets. Rather, the Supreme Lord, by his great mercy, comes at once riding on his bird carrier Garuda, and at once delivers the devotee from material existence. Although a man who has fallen in the ocean may struggle very hard and may be very expert in swimming, he cannot save himself. But if someone comes and picks him up from the water, then he is easily rescued. Similarly, the Lord picks up the devotee from this material existence. One simply has to practice the easy process of Krishna consciousness and fully engage himself in devotional service. Any intelligent man should always prefer the process of devotional service to all other paths. In the Narayaniya, that is confirmed as follows. Ye vai sadhana sampatti purushartha chatushtaye taya vinat rapnoti naro narayanashrayaha. The purport of this verse is that one should not engage in the different processes of fruitive activity or cultivate knowledge by the mental speculative process. One who is devoted to the Supreme Personality can attain all the benefits derived from other yogic processes, speculation, rituals, sacrifices, charities, etc. That is the specific benediction of devotional service. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. A devotee of the Lord can approach the supreme destination easily and happily. But this destination cannot be approached by any other process of religion. The conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita is stated in the 18th chapter. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekang sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayasyami ma shuchaha. One should give up all other processes of self-realization and simply execute devotional service in Krishna consciousness. That will enable one to reach the highest perfection of life. There is no need for one to consider the sinful actions of his past life because the Supreme Lord fully takes charge of him. Therefore, one should not futilely try to deliver himself in spiritual realization. Let everyone take shelter of the Supreme Omnipotent Godhead, Krishna. That is the highest perfection of life. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So isn't that an encouraging purport? This 12th chapter is great. So Krishna is, and this is a very short chapter. I mean, we're almost halfway through it already. The question was asked by Arjuna, what is the better way, right? This is all an answer. Which are considered to be more perfect? The first verse of the chapter. Which are considered to be more perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? Okay. So Krishna is making it very clear that those who are fully engaged in his devotional service are better situated. Why better situated? Well, the obvious answer is that you're putting it all in Krishna's hands. And who could have more powerful, efficient hands than him? Right? If we try to do it on our own, right? Try to, go to the spiritual world or attain nirvana or samadhi, whatever we think, then chances are we'll fail, because who are we? Maya is very strong. Remember, I mean, this has been emphasized throughout the Gita already. Chapter 7, text 14, very important verse. What is it? How is it? Daiviyesha. Daiviyesha gunamahi, mama maya durakteya, mahamevaye pabadyante, mayametang tarantite. It's practically all there in that one verse. Daiviyesha gunamahi. This material, mama maya, my maya, this is all Krishna's world, it belongs to him, is divine because it's connected to Krishna. You see? We don't see it as divine, it's material, right? But because it's connected to Krishna, it has that spiritual aspect, it belongs to him. Mama maya, duratyaya, it's composed of the three modes of material nature, gunamahi, right? Mama maya duratyaya. Now, in the translation, we added the word very in there because Prabhupada has very in the synonyms. It's very difficult in the purport, but somehow in the translation, Krishna just says it's difficult. It's difficult to get into Harvard, but it's not impossible if you really work hard, right? But it's more than difficult for you to overcome the material energy on your own. In fact, it's totally impossible. So we add in a very in there. Very difficult. I think will be in the next edition, or you can see published. This material energy composed, my material energy composed on your own, right? Very, very, very difficult. But those who surrender unto me can easily cross beyond it. And in the purport, Prabhupada uses the analogy, because guna can also mean rope. If you're tied tight, to a chair or something with big ropes, right? You can't get out. But if someone comes and says, "Oh, Dravida, what happened?" And they just unties the rope and you're out. So that's the point, is that if Krishna is on your side, you don't need anybody else. He will release you out of his mercy, out of his kindness, because you're performing devotional service. He responds to love, and he can be conquered by love. He can't be conquered in any other way. No Kamsa or Hiranyakashipu is going to conquer. But what is that wonderful verse by Lord Brahma? In his prayers to Krishna, when he steals Krishna's calves and then he steals the boys, right? He thinks that, and then Krishna expands himself as the calves and the boys. And Brahma comes back after 2 or 3 moments of his time, which is a whole year down here, and he's playing with the boys and calves. Whew. I thought I put him to sleep, and my mystic somebody checks the cave or wherever they are, and there they are sleeping, Well, who are these, And then he realizes, oh boy, Krishna expanded himself in an identical set of boys and calves, and he carefully, matched their idiosyncrasies, how they like to dress, they talk, because he wants all the mothers and all the cows to have the privilege of suckling him and loving him and having. It's incredible, So there's he always does a few things at once, right? He's putting Brahma in his place. He's bewildering him. He becomes bewildered. That's the Brahma Vimohan Leela. And then he sets up Brahma's prayers. you see. And so he's standing there, just, he's thinking of the little calf herd boy, And Brahma bows down with his 4 helmets and everything, and then he offers these prayers. And near the beginning of those prayers, he says this verse, and it's become famous because in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Lord Chaitanya is discussing with Ramananda Roy, it's a wonderful scene. Lord Chaitanya is God. Ramananda Roy isn't even a Brahmin, he's a manager down there, but he was recommended by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. You go see him in South India when you go on your tour. You'll be very pleased, because he was expert in all the intricacies of Madhurya Ras, So Lord Chaitanya takes the role of the student, asking the questions. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he's taking the role of the student, asking the question of the Guru. And Ramananda Roy is a little hesitant. He said, oh, well, who am I to instruct him? But Lord Chaitanya's encouraged him. He says, Kiba Vipra Kimanyasi Shuddhakena Noy Ye Krishna Tattva Vedish Say Guru Hoy, the same famous verse. Whether one is a Brahmin or a sannyasi or even a Shudra, one who knows the science of Krishna, he can become a guru. And Ramananda Roy knew that, even though he was a Kayastha, who's in the Shudra category. So anyway, in that conversation, Lord Chaitanya, he asked Ramananda Roy, please tell me what the means of achieving perfection in life is. So he goes through and he starts talking about Varnashram. The first one is Varnashram, And Lord Chaitanya said, oh, that's very good, but that's external. Go on. And he keeps going. And finally he quotes, Sarva Dharma Padijja Mame Kam Charanamba Jaham. That should be the answer, right? He said, no, that's external. Whoa, what is that? So then he quotes a verse from Lord Brahma, and that's the one. How to conquer Krishna. He said, Yen ye adabindaksha vimuktamaninas tvayastabhab. No, that's a different verse. Jnane priyasam udapasyanamanta eva jivanti sanmukaditam bhavadiya bhartam stane stita shutigatam tanovan manobe ye prayaso ajita jito pasitaistri lokam. That last line says, by this means, which I'll translate the first 3 lines, Ajita Jita, the unconquerable Lord becomes conquered. How is that possible? That seems like a contradiction, but it's not. So Brahma is saying here, Jnane Priyasam, the big effort to on your own attain transcendental knowledge, you see, investigating and meditating and like that. Give it up. He says, throw it far away. Jnane Priyasam Udapasya. And namanta eva, surrender unto who? Unto the pure devotee. Jivanti san mukaditam, and then live in this way. San mukaditam. The sat is a shortcut for the name of saying those who are eternal, the saints, the realized souls. From their mouth, san mukaditam bhavadiya bhartam. Listen to their discourses on you, and if they listen to their description, their glorification of you. And they don't have to take sannyas or anything. Stane stitak, to stay in your social position, you see. Stane stitak shrutigatam, follow this path of hearing from the saints, from the realized souls. And then interesting is that tonovan manobir, and serve those vibrations with your body, mind, and words. In other words, the instructions to do something, do it with the body. And then you repeat it to others. And you think about it, you meditate on it, you contemplate them and discuss with others. Then by such a means, ye praya soul, almost always, by ajita jita, the unconquerable Lord, it means anjita, is conquered because you develop love for him, and he responds. Avitais trilokim, in all 3 worlds, this is the best way to approach Krishna. So that verse, Lord Chaitanya said, this is very good. When Ramananda Roy quoted this verse, this is fine, it's not external, but now go further. And he went further up into the intricacies of Madhurya Ras and everything, which we won't get into right here. But the point is that Lord Brahma, who's after all the head of our sampradaya, Krishna's the head, but the Lord Brahma is the chief living entity, soul, giving all kinds of knowledge. And we find who is his disciple? It's coming down, Narada Muni. And who's his disciple? Vyasadeva, who wrote the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is all coming through Lord Brahma, and who is connected to Krishna. So this is a similar thing now. Krishna is saying, we did 5, right? Klesha Dirikas, that was part of it. Yeah. Did we do 5? Yeah. So that's a very, klesho adhikatatas means a lot of klesha, a lot of trouble, you see? Avyaktasakta chaitasam, for those who are trying to worship the invisible, the unknowable, the white light, you know. Avyakta, then again invisible, unmanifest. Those who accept the unmanifest Brahman, you know, the Brahman, Brahmajyoti, as their gati, as their goal, a lot of dukkha, a lot of trouble. For those who are embodied, well, that's us. You know, all of us are embodied. So in other words, Krishna says, forget it. Then, for those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. Adhikatatas, right? Very much klesha, trouble. To make progress in this discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. So that's for everybody. But on the other hand, so then Krishna will start, you know, it's all by contrast. You know, this is how we learn. We say that on the one side you have this example, which is very obviously very difficult, but means but. But on the other hand, those, as we go in the next verse, unless there are any questions, we'll go on because they all go together. Yetu sarvani karmani. We did that one also. Okay. So there's the contrast. Those who worship me, giving up all activities to me, being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, always meditating. No question what he's talking about here. Keeps having fixed their minds upon me. For them, I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So if Krishna is on your side and he's trying to help you personally, then you have it made. And in order to do that, you simply have to perform devotional service, develop love for him, so that he notices you. Do I need to quote the movie? I don't need to quote it. Did you see it? But that's what's going on. There's little Prahlad who has no strength on his own, but what he has is unflinching love and trust in the Lord, in the Shringadev. You know, he doesn't even know the Shringadev until he appears. But he has, you know, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate. And so it works. He's a living example of this, living well, in AI anyway, for now. Anyway, it's the same lesson over and over again. If you can catch Krishna's attention simply by your loving devotion, that is the greatest asset you have in this human form of life. It's all based on faith. And faith is the beginning, that is really out there. And for that, we need association. Balaram's giving a nice class this morning, you know, is that the developing faith in the process by associating with those who have faith. This is a standard process. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti ritkana rasayana kata tadjo shanarashu abhavarga vatmani shraddha ratir bhakta anukramisati. Shraddha means faith. So this is Kapila Dev teaching his mother. And I won't go through the whole 8. There's 8 verses. There's a Sadhu Sangashtaka, I named it. I picked out, there's 3 sets of 8 verses. I won't go to any more. But this is so important. And basically he says, to all of us, he says, those strong attachments that we have to things of this world and people of this world, we need to transfer to the sadhus, you see? Otherwise, you can stay bound up in this world. Prasangam majadam pasham atmanak kabayo vidu. Sahesha sadhu shukato moksha dwaram apavatam. It opens up the door to liberation. Then the next question is, who's a sadhu? Tatikshava, karunika, suridak sarvadehinam, ajata shatrurak shanta, sadhavak sadhabhushana. This is personified Prahlad, Tatikshava. Who could be more tolerant than Prahlad? Boiled in oil? Would you tolerate? I don't mind. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Could you turn it down a little bit? Om Namo Bhagavate. You know, I mean, what didn't he tolerate? You know. So, but he wasn't shaken. He wasn't harmed by all that because he was protected by Krishna. That's a basic principle of surrender. You know, rakshishati vishvaso. It's not easy to have faith that you'll be protected by Krishna when there's all these threats around you. So anyway, this is what Krishna is describing, the same thing here. Those who worship me, giving up all activity to me, being devoted without me, engaged in devotional service, meditating and having fixed their minds, for them I'm the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death, or any other, you know, any dangers. So it's all very scientific, but also very heartrending, moving. Mayeva mana aratsva, may buddhim niveshaya, nivasishyasi mayeva, ata urdvam nasangshayaha. Okay. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt. Nivasishyasi means to dwell, right? You will live to dwell within me. Ata urdvam nasangshaya. Purport: one who is engaged in Lord Krishna's devotional service lives in a direct relationship with the Supreme Lord. So there is no doubt that his position is transcendental from the very beginning. A devotee does not live on the material plane. He lives in Krishna. The holy name of the Lord and the Lord are non-different. Therefore, when a devotee chants Hare Krishna, Krishna and his internal potency are dancing on the tongue of the devotee. When he offers Krishna food, Krishna directly accepts these eatables, and the devotee becomes Krishnaized. They edited that to Krishnaized, but I'm going back to Krishnaized. I like Krishnaized. Isn't that nice? Anyway, you get the idea. Krishnaized by eating the remnants. One who does not engage in such service cannot understand how this is so, although this is a process recommended in the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures. So this is why it's so important to have great examples like, Srila Prabhupada to point to. And even though he's gone now almost 50 years on this plane, he left such a heritage, such a legacy, of his devotees, his books, videos. There's this wonderful series, in the case you haven't heard of it yet, I remember when Yadubar Prabhu, he was the great producer of all these videos, he and his wife, who is now the president of Bhaktivedanta Manor for 12 years or so. Yeah. And believe it or not, I had a very small role to play in the production of that. What it is that over the course of Prabhupada's 12 years with us, they were traveling with him all the time, often, and taking videos. And so they had all this video footage. And they had the brilliant idea of, well, let's go, since we have the video, we can see who was with Prabhupada. And we know some famous devotees, this sannyasi, that sannyasi, or whoever. And we'll go interview them to get, they can narrate the videos and tell what was going on and what, all this stuff like that. So they did that. It took them several years to produce, obviously. And so my little role in it was that they were living up in Sharanagati, which is north of Vancouver. It's a devotee community up there. Gets cold, it's wintertime. So during that time, he knew me, we were friends. So he said, maybe I can go down and stay with Dravida. And what he wanted to do was to put in, what do you call it? The subtitles. But English subtitles, these are all English devotees, they're speaking English. But in India, in England, the Indian devotees couldn't understand the English accent, even though speaking English. So they wanted to have the subtitles. So he came there and stayed in my back room there for a month or two. And he put in the subtitles to it. So anyway, I helped a little bit. But they were just wonderful. I bought the original set, a bunch of MP3s, but now they're all available on YouTube. And if you just key in YouTube, following Srila Prabhupada, this is what they're called. There's like 12 different, sets of them. It's really incredible. Yeah. So, and so what you see there is how Prabhupada's faith and his speaking and his personality and everything he was doing, he would create faith because he himself was an example of what he's talking about. How he's empowered, even at that age, empowered to travel the world 12 times and do what he did, and he was obviously fixed. No matter what happened, he would stay dhira. This is word. Dhira means untroubled and sober-minded and everything like that. So that kind of association, even through the medium of YouTube or through the medium of the books, and I encourage you to explore listening to Prabhupada's lectures. They're available. I think I can supply them with you, because the actual, an actual realized person speaking, there's something in the words and something in the language that just strikes you. There's this wonderful verse in the 4th canto, I forget the reference, I can get it for you, describing how the voice of the realized soul is in touch with the saffron mercy particles from Krishna's lotus feet. And if you hear that voice, talking about Krishna, it has a great potency to instill faith and enthusiasm in the devotees. And so that's what it's all about. In my Vyasa Puja offering this year, I focused on that. I thanked Prabhupada for that particular gift of encouraging us to record everything. Just like he was so brilliant, he recorded that introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, which is now printed now all these years. Someone gave him picture this. Prabhupada's in this strange city. He has no contacts, but he has this one contact with this bogus yogi who had some yoga studio up on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. So he contacted him and he made friends, and so he gave him, he took care of him for the first few months. So, but after a while, he saw that, oh boy, if he talks to my students, they're going to come follow him instead of me. So then he said, okay, Bhaktivedanta, you can stay now in my office, which is like, if you know Manhattan, there's the East River and the Hudson River. So he put him over near the Hudson River, and so he had to walk across. There was no kitchen there, so he had to walk across to the studio in order to cook and everything, But he tolerated it. And finally, Prabhupada got the connection to come downtown, and then 26 Second Avenue happened and all of that. But he took it all as, Krishna's mercy, his test. He was being tested. He would go to the ticket office of the boat, company. The shipping company, and check on the ships going back. He kept doing it, and finally the guy said, "Swamiji, you keep checking on the ships back, but you don't get on any of them. You don't take it." Said, "No, I have to try to fulfill the wishes of my spiritual master." So of course it was eventually blessed with success, as we can see. And so he used that. He had a gift of a reel-to-reel. Have you ever seen these big old reel-to-reel, recording machines? I had one of those once. So he found out how to use it, and was sitting up there in his little apartment. So he decided to record the introduction to the Gita. You can read it. It's what's recorded. It's long. It took days and days, And so while he was over at the other place cooking lunch or something, somebody broke in. Probably he suspected the superintendent himself of coming, breaking in and taking it. And what did they steal? The only thing of value was the recorder. So they took that, the reel-to-reel recorder. But they left the most valuable thing, the tape with the introduction on it, because they wouldn't have known what to do. So anyway, Prabhupada, it says in the Lilamrita that after that happened, Prabhupada wasn't so much enthusiastic about staying up in that little apartment anymore. And just then there were these connections that developed for him to come down to the Lower East Side and start the whole thing, Krishna's arrangement. And that's why we have the Bhagavad Gita as it is, these temples, the books, the whole movement, because Prabhupada was very persistent and faithful. Okay, I lost track. Did I do 8 yet? No, we didn't do 8 yet. We did 8? Oh, just fix your mind upon me. Okay, question, yes. Wait, we need, hold on, hold, we need. Okay, he's just asking a little question. So, what was it you asked?
You mentioned the Yaji Puja offering. You gave something to that. I just wondered what that was.
I think you're thinking of Yadubar.
No, he's asking about Vyasa Puja.
Oh, Vyasa Puja.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Vyasa Puja is the celebration of the day of like a birthday of the spiritual master. It's called Vyasa Puja because the spiritual master represents Vyas. Just like this is called the Vyasasana. I'm supposed to be representing Vyas. If I start talking a lot of nonsense here, then Vyas himself is going to kick me off there. I won't be. In other words, that's why I like to read Prabhupada's purports, and I'm in the same. Yeah, Vyasa Puja is a wonderful celebration every year on the anniversary of the appearance or birth of the spiritual master. So you can write an offering. For 30 years, I put out a book, Vyasa Puja book. We have a book of offerings from all over the movement. And then finally I had too much work to do, so they took it out. The last few years, others have put it out. But it's a wonderful expression of, appreciation and glorification for the spiritual master, like that.
So for that puja, we write something. We write an offering.
You can, yes, you can write an offering, and actually, if you come here, then you can read it on that day. There's like a couple of hours in the morning when Bhagavad Swami will say his, and I read mine, and but it's also open for others to express their appreciation of Prabhupada. It's very much. Same thing happens on the Disappearance Day, which we recently celebrated, the anniversary. Okay, so it's almost 8 o'clock. Let me read. So we're on 10? 9. Okay. Boy, really spaced out. Ata chittam samadhatum nasaknoshi mahistiram abhyasa yoge natato mamipchaptum dhananjaya. My dear Arjun, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. Purport. In this verse, 2 different processes of Bhakti Yoga are indicated. The first applies to one who has actually developed an attachment for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by transcendental love. And the other is for one who has not developed an attachment for the Supreme Person by transcendental love. For the second class, there are different prescribed rules and regulations one can follow to be ultimately elevated to the stage of attachment to Krishna. Bhakti Yoga is the purification of the senses. At the present moment, in material existence, the senses are always impure, being engaged in sense gratification. But by the practice of Bhakti Yoga, these senses can become purified. And in the purified state, they come directly in contact with the Supreme Lord. In this material existence, I may be engaged in some service to some master, but I don't really lovingly serve my master. I simply serve to get some money. And the master also is not in love. He takes service from me and pays me. So there is no question of love. But for spiritual life, one must be elevated to the pure stage of love. That stage of love can be achieved by practice of devotional service, performed with the present senses. That includes the mind, by the way. This love of God is now in a dormant state in everyone's heart. And there, love of God is manifested in different ways, but it is contaminated by material association. Now the heart has to be purified of the material association, and that dormant natural love for Krishna has to be revived. That is the whole process. To practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, one should, under the guidance of an expert spiritual master, follow certain principles. One should rise early in the morning, take bath, enter the temple and offer prayers and chant Hare Krishna. Then collect flowers to offer to the deity, cook foodstuffs to offer to the deity, take prasadam, and so on. There are various rules and regulations which one should follow. And one should constantly hear the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam from pure devotees. This practice can help anyone rise to the level of love of God, and then he is sure of his progress into the spiritual kingdom of God. This practice of Bhakti Yoga, under the rules and regulations, with the direction of a spiritual master, will surely bring one to the stage of love of God. It never gets old. I mean, reading this book. We've gone through maybe 10 times at least over the years. And it's just wonderful. So this is, Krishna is encouraging us. He's encouraging Arjun, but through Arjun, he's encouraging us to take up the process of sadhana bhakti. What do you describe as sadhana bhakti? Sadhana means a practice, and the sadhya is the goal of that practice. Now, on a material plane, it happens all the time. Someone wants to become a champion pole vaulter, and you can't just find yourself a long pole and put up no, you have to get a coach, right? You have to learn how to train, you have to eat right, you have to do everything. In other words, there's a path, a sadhana, and the sadhya, Olympic gold medal, oh my God, that's the goal of life, No, it's just a lot of maya, And even if you do become champion pole vaulter, you still have to get old and die, And then what'll happen in the next life? Who knows what you become, So, but the process of setting a goal. Now, finding out what that goal is like the first important step. And that's why it's important to have an example of someone who is a lover of God, who can show you how, the joy and the bliss that can be enjoyed on a steady basis. So, and then, to hear, the hearing process. That's why Prabhupada set up these classes. I've been trying to, maintain this evening class. When I joined, it was de rigueur. Everyone living in the temple had to be down there at 6:30 or whatever it was for the arti. It was a fantastic arti, Gaur arti. It was a whole song about Lord Chaitanya being worshipped on the banks of the Ganges and everything, and Kirtan. And sit down, hear the Bhagavad Gita class. They used to have a portion at the beginning of reading from Nectar of Devotion, which we can reinstitute if you want to. And then after that, we go downstairs and we have a little hot milk and hear Krishna book, take rest, dream of Krishna, get up, and, it's at 3 o'clock, oh, let's go, it's after. And that was life, But it definitely changes you. It's very powerful. It's Hare Krishna mantra. And, the thing that really sustained it all, 3 hours a day of Harinam Sankirtan on the street. That is the best way, yeah. That was the standard practice. You had to figure, and we had different schedules. In Manhattan, we had a church. I don't know if they knew that they were standing on their steps of their church every day and singing Hare Krishna. But anyway, they didn't bother us. I have a picture of me on that I can bring around.
What about in the winter?
In the winter, if it was really cold, we only went out for 2 hours. No, I don't remember what. Yeah, there was obviously, in Manhattan, here in New York City. But Saturday night, we had a Maha Harinam. Everybody in the temple went out in night down to Times Square, Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. And after like an hour or an hour and a half, whatever, this one devotee, it was a specialty, he would cook huge amounts of halva, hot halva. It's cold, hot halva. And we'd each have a cup of halva right there on the street in Manhattan. Go back to the temple and take rest. So that's, but it's the sadhana bhakti, it's a purification process. And the more you chant, the more you engage in these activities, the more that your other activities become, wow, how did I ever do that? Boy, I'm glad I don't do that anymore. This is very wholesome for body, mind, and soul. That's what. All right, so I left a little time, so we have a little poetry break, and then we can have kirtan and dream of Krishna. Okay. So, thing is, I keep giving. Oh, here's one we haven't heard in a while, because on Tuesday nights I have a class with a Zoom class with my old friends from Columbus. One of them now in India. She's tuning in from there and everything. But I was sharing this one, which I haven't shared in a while. It's the easiest one to chant because the meter is very simple. It's ta 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 ta. Now you listen here. Barha pidam maulao bibrad vangshi naran atan van. Nana kalpa shi sampanno gopa sribi samvita. Netanandam kurvan Krishna tvanchedaksad viksheta. Sarve kama sampadhyera rasmakam vidyasina. So I use that same meter in the English. Decked with crown of peacock plumes and chanting songs with flute you sing, wearing lovely ornaments while standing in the gopis' ring. Dear most Krishna, eyes delight, if you will kindly glance our way, all our heart's desires will be fulfilled on this most blessed day. You can memorize it. Who doesn't have the file? You can just send me an email. I can send you the file. Huh? I wrote the English. The Sanskrit is by who is that? Bhattacharya? Baladev, not Baladev. Oh my God, I can't remember. Okay, here's another one. This describes the great devotees. I always think of Prabhupada on this one. Aho bir nakale vaduya de sudha sudhara modadam padevide. You know all these by now, right? She knows. She's a Sanskrit scholar, reborn, I guess. Aho bir nakale vaduya de sudha sudhara modadam padevide. Dine chandana chandra shitalam yasho yashoda tanaya sagiyate. Now, before you have to know that sandalwood paste is very cooling, right? In the summertime, they put on the deities But if you add this powdered camphor, it becomes even more so, right? I've never experienced it. So that's in this verse. Because at every step they drink a flood of wondrous nectar sweet, whose cooling power, sandal paste enhanced with camphor, cooling power, sandal paste enhanced with camphor, can't defeat. Let's start again. Because at every step they drink a flood of wondrous nectar sweet, whose cooling power, sandal paste enhanced with camphor, can't defeat. They feel as if the raging blaze of Kali's days had ne'er begun. How blessed are they who fill their days with praise of Shri Yashoda's son. What did Prabhupada do? He filled his days and nights with praise of Shri Yashoda's son. Okay, we have time for one more. Okay, it's a fun one. Uradi katamodadi databangam, navadadadadikidanola sadangam, yuvadi badayadatamanatatangam, pranamati yamanutatikitadangam. His flute emanates enchanting sounds for the girls whose love for him abounds, bow down to the cloud-complexioned Lord who's dancing upon the Kalindi shore. Kalindi is Yamuna. So with that in mind, let us get ready for our tea. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.